It's the end of April and this morning we woke up to a whole new layer of fresh snow covering the ground. It's been a long winter, and if you're thinking we must be sick and tired by now of the cold, frosty conditions, well, you're probably right. But even though there is nearly as much white powder covering the ground as at one of those infamous Epstein parties,
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
there are a lot of things that we'll miss about homesteading up north. In the last vlog you already saw that the chickens got picked up by their new owner. And a few days later the sheep also left to join another gang of hay-munching woolly friends over at a neighbor's farm not far from here. We're allowed to come visit them anytime this summer, and they even kindly offered to give us one of the lambs once they're big enough. But every morning I find myself looking out the window first thing after waking up and thinking, do the sheep have enough hay? Is there enough water in the chicken coop for our trustworthy egg-laying, cackling friends? Only to be reminded that they're all gone. And it does leave an empty feeling in my stomach. Sure, there is also some relief, because I have a lot more time on my hands for other jobs. But to go out and just pick up your daily fresh eggs or cuddle with Biggie the sheep is something I'll miss dearly. Biggie was 80 kilos of pure attitude and absolutely no respect for personal space.
Oh, Biggie!
I miss him terribly. Another thing we'll miss about homesteading here in the north of Sweden is the silence and solitude. Having no neighbors and being surrounded by nature is something most people can only dream of, so it has been a huge privilege to actually experience it. It's strange to think that we'll never again experience the silence you get here in the middle of winter, when most things alive are hibernating, animals are cozied up in their dens, plants are lying dormant, waiting to sprout their leaves and fruit in late spring, and any sound that is out there is immediately swallowed by the snow that covers everything, from the rooftops to the tiniest branches. It's a strange expression, but the silence is truly deafening out here. Of course, we'll also miss picking fresh fruit and veg from our own garden and surrounding forests. To have such a ridiculous amount of blueberries and lingonberries each year and making so much jam until you're purple in the face is truly astonishing. We had so many blueberries last summer, I started dreaming in purple. Caroline started putting them in everything. I'm still not entirely convinced the meatballs needed them, but here we are. Nature giving you free food and then storing it in a root cellar that's naturally cold enough all year round to preserve it is a luxury high on the list of things we'll remember when we look back on the time spent here. Gardening was also great fun, and figuring out what does and doesn't grow in the north was a very exciting challenge, especially when you could grow things that people said you couldn't grow that far north. It reminds me of a poster left behind by the previous owners. It says, "We told him that it was impossible, but he didn't want to listen." How true that is of Mavericks. People willing to put their egos aside, willing to be ridiculed for going against the crowd, willing to risk losing everything they've got in order to follow their hearts and something they truly believe in. This is how true happiness and freedom can be found, even if it's not always permanent. But to have experienced it even for a fleeting moment proves to them that there is something out there, something bigger, better, and far more exciting and real than the fake lives we are told to live from a young age by institutions that have no interest in your happiness or freedom whatsoever, and whose main interests are purely to seek economical gain and control. I was told from a young age, after doing some school aptitude test, that I would be best suited as an accountant or something along those lines. I don't remember exactly, partly because I was so young and partly because when they told me I immediately thought it was a load of nonsense. However, they were right to some degree. I did end up working for the man for a large part of my life, larger than I'd have liked, but it wasn't a wasted experience. It showed me the energy draining and frankly ludicrous act of typing fictitious numbers into a computer to make people you've never met and most likely will never meet rich based on those fictitious numbers. Because that's what it all is. Fake. Fake money, fake jobs, fake people, fake lives. Once we do move back to our old house, we will miss our energy systems here immensely. It took a lot of figuring out, but now that everything is set up nicely and doing exactly what it needs to do, we're leaving it all behind. Thankfully, we gained a huge amount of experience and knowledge through breaking things and getting electrocuted here and there, which will help us enormously with any future setup. Another big disappointment is not seeing our fruit trees bear fruit for the first time. It's a real shame, because once we restart our journey to self-sufficiency, it will take a while to start from scratch, unless of course we find a property that already has fruit trees, or we move somewhere warmer, which is something I talk about in my latest Patreon series, The Real Story with Vince, where I talk about what's really going on behind the scenes and what we're planning for our future. It's a place where I can speak my mind and answer questions in depth with anyone willing to support us. I post the same video 48 hours later on our YouTube membership as well, where you can join for only $1, though without the ability to ask questions or make suggestions. Links in the description below. Now the last thing we will probably miss the most, and it's a bit of a contradiction, is seeing our kids grow up and learn on the homestead. There are endless practical skills we can teach them here and invaluable life lessons that are hard to find anywhere else. I say it's a contradiction because in one way we're leaving so that we have more time to spend with the kids and give them a place where they can run around and play more freely. But on the other hand, we're taking the homestead education away from them, even if only temporarily. Because as I've mentioned before, we're not done, and we're not giving up on our dream of freedom and self-sufficiency. Plans are being made, and even though we're sharing them on Patreon at the moment, you will hear about them here too, but only once those plans come to fruition.